Yes, actually. It's called Being Human. Hey up everyone! So today's movie I'm discussing on the channel is the new feature from Rachel Lambert called Sometimes I Think About Dying, which stars Daisy Ridley as Fran, a socially awkward, Sarah Plain and Tall type who, as the title suggests, she sometimes thinks about dying. Not much really happens in this film. It follows Fran over the space of a few days, maybe a week or two. Her life is pretty routinely. She gets up, goes to work, comes home, sleeps, and repeats. There's potential for romance when a new co-worker arrives at the office called Robert, played by Dave Mahershi. The only thing standing in the way of Fran is Fran herself. I've never actually seen any of Rachel Lambert's previous work. The draw factor for me for watching this film was the fact that Daisy Ridley was in it, because I've not really seen Daisy Ridley in anything else besides the Star Wars movies, so I was curious to see what else she might have in her wheelhouse. But what did I think of Sometimes I Think About Dying? It's one of those films that I admire, but I wasn't crazy about it. Like, I think it's a film that I think a lot of people, particularly introverts or people with social anxiety, will really connect with. And from a filmmaking perspective, I loved how intentionally uneventful and mundane this movie felt. It's intentionally dull, and I think Lambert did a very good job of crafting this colorless, lifeless environment and atmosphere, which really works to sell the point of what she's trying to get across. It very much captures that feeling of the ennui of life, and for that I appreciate it. But do I love this film and want to watch it more than once? No, I appreciate it, but once is enough for me. I think what it is that as an extrovert myself, I just didn't really find myself clicking with this film. I didn't really identify with the character of Fran, but I can see a lot of other people really clicking with the character of Fran and Daisy Ridley's performance of her. I thought Daisy Ridley was fine as Fran. It's a very reserved performance from her. She doesn't really speak much in the first 30 minutes of the film, but she does give you enough to keep you interested. I wasn't blown away by this performance, but it's not like it's a showcase role for her. It's a very muted role, very toned down, and for that, it is something different to what I'm used to seeing her do, so respect to her for that. I also did appreciate the sprinkles of humor throughout the film's script. There's a scene at the office where Fran and Robert are conversing via Slack, and they're just talking about office supplies and cottage cheese. I'm not gonna be able to do this scene justice, but it's just funny because it illustrates how benignly boring office chat can be, and boring can be funny sometimes. And it's just a great example of a funny scene where you don't have characters delivering verbal dialogue. It's all text chat, but you can really pick up on the funny subtext of the conversation between the two of them. Like I said before, the film is intentionally being dull as dishwater. But for me, the film was at its most interesting when something interesting was actually happening. Like this scene where Fran and Robert go to a house party and they take part in this murder mystery game. That was actually quite engaging because we learned a little bit more about Fran and what she's like and her dark sensibilities. That scene was great. But those moments where I was actually quite invested were quite few and far between. It was just a little too dry for me personally, and I get that it's being intentionally dry. It's just one of those movies where I personally didn't get a whole lot from it. There's not a lot of joy for me to get from watching a wallflower protagonist in a film, which is essentially the cinematic equivalent of watching paint dry. It's just a movie that isn't really made for me, and I acknowledge that. And I know there is an audience for this film. I'm just not it, so I just have to give you my personal experience as to how I felt when I was watching this film. I probably would have liked this film more if it had leaned more into the absurdity surrounding Fran's mundane life. But the film never goes too surreal or wacky. It does flirt with it from time to time, but it doesn't stay for very long. So yeah, if it was funnier, I probably would have liked it more. But credit to Rachel Lambert for making a 90-minute movie. This film didn't overstay its welcome. So let's ask them 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch this again? No, not because I think it's bad, it's just not got anything that I would want to come back to watch it again for. So yeah, this is just a one-time watch for me. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? I recommend this movie to those who like charming little movies about the mundanity of life. It's not baha funny, but it does have its comedic moments, and it is saying something very specific that I think a lot of people will connect with. Like I said, this film isn't really for me, but if you're introverted or have a little bit of social anxiety, then this might very well be a film that you find to be very special. So if you think the premise sounds interesting, then yeah, I say go check it out. And third question, what score to give out of 10? Sometimes I Think About Dying is a film that I appreciated. It's a film where I can see its good merits. I think it's effective at getting across the message it's trying to say, and I think Lambert crafts a consistent tone throughout. Daisy Ridley's also good in it, so yeah, job well done. But at the end of the day, it's just a movie I personally didn't really click with all that much. I didn't love this film, but I did enjoy it to a degree, so I'm going to give Sometimes I Think About Dying a score of 5 out of 10. But as always, guys, it's just one bloke's opinion. I would love to hear from you. What did you make of this movie? Did you find yourself really resonating with the character of Fran? Whatever you have to say, let me know in that comment section down below. If you have enjoyed the video, help me have a little thumbs up button. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click subscribe. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Harefield, and I'll see you next time.